Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this, your Capricorn November 2022 reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James, clairvoyant, and I've had the great pleasure of doing some one-on-one clairvoyant readings for Capricorns from different parts of the world over the course of the last month. And if you would like to have your own one-on-one with me or see what's involved, just check out the information that's in the description below. But now we're going to take 5 cards, because 5 is all we need, because as the subscribers know, it's jam-packed full of information, this spread, when we look at them, isn't it? So let's see what there is in store first, and it's this one, which is the 2 of Discs. What might this be? The High Priestess. What a startling High Priestess card. There's the 9 of Cups. Good, good, good. And what is this? Death. And geez, some lovely images here for you, I must say. We might take a snapshot of this. And there is Justice. Well, why don't you come now, sit down here next to me. We'll have a good close look at the imagery on these cards together while I do the reading for you. Gee, you've got some great images here, haven't you? Let's either 1, 2, 3 major arcana. Let's do them in order, and then we'll do 2 Discs and 9 of Cups. Hey, this is a very trippy painting of the High Priestess. What can I take from this painting here? Okay, I think that's the business. I am all that has been, and is, and shall be, and my robe no mortal has yet uncovered. She is the Hymen Priestess, guardian of the gate of life and death with a veil of flesh. She parts her parchment scroll or legs to reveal the wisdom within. If you pull aside her veil, there may be several drops of blood, like crimson pomegranate seeds, to show that you have passed that way. Now, the High Priestess is the counterpart of the magician, I suppose, and the magician, is the masculine energy, yang, and she is the feminine void, yin. He is day, she is night. He is radiation, brilliance, and illumination. She is darkness and secrets. He is without, she is within. Together, they are our spiritual mother and father, and the heavenly king and queen. As the magician is the light and brilliant aspect of the primordial universe, and the High Priestess is the dark and internal aspect, they really do represent the very essence of duality, which we come into here in Earth. Now, you have a darkness within you, places that you can't easily see. It is your subconscious and your unconscious, places that are not illuminated by the sun. If consciousness was an ocean, waking consciousness would be a small island on the surface. Subconscious would be all of that below, and there is no end to it. It is a bottomless abyss. This is the abode of the High Priestess, and being dark, it is fearful to sun. The High Priestess is pictured as a sort of a sea monster here, with her collective head in the abysmal ocean, and her tentacles extending beyond. Life is inherited. You had to come from your mother and father, and they both contributed DNA and life force. Each of those things inherited its life force in an unbroken chain that goes back to the beginning of life, male and female, together. These lifelines are the tentacle-like dark rivers flowing through time, all connected. The symbol for this life that the High Priestess contains is the tree of life, or book, that is upon her belly. Now, being associated with the night, and as is depicted here, she is also very much associated with the moon. The moon represents cycles and going with the flow of life. So this is a time when you will have access to intuitive powers, healing, I would suggest, independence, increased self-confidence, and you will be discovering your own truth. I think you'll have a great degree of emotional stability here. Now, in this position, which is above the Justice card here, and opposite the Two of Discs, I think that this can represent a platonic friendship. That is a friendship that's not romantic, but nevertheless one which is going to be really good for you, because I see you beginning a good cycle here, increasing self-esteem and becoming aware of intuition as a gift, and it is the time for discovering the oasis within. You now have access to your intuitive powers, so develop them more fully and guard your independence. The priestess can indicate extrasensory perception and intuitive abilities such as clairvoyance, in a way, creative visualization, empathy, intuitive knowledge. These abilities arise in harmony with and in service to the ultimate cosmic laws. Are there areas in your life in which you allow others to influence you rather than trusting your own intuition? I'd say seek out water as often as you can at this time, and say this to yourself: I deeply honor and value the human being that I am. I am intuitive and perceptive. I trust myself and honor my sense of integrity, and I trust my intuitive abilities. Well, where were we going to go? We were going to do them in a sort of a numerical order, were we not? And so we come to Justice. And you might be familiar with this image that's here. Work, earn, know thyself, create thy reality, become thy greatest potential. Ground wishes with action, be the crux of the real and the sublime. Weigh your heart. Now this is, as you may have worked out, is the ancient goddess Ma'at from Egyptian times. This is the feather where she would weigh on scales the heart of a person and the feather with together. And Ma'at means truth. And truth is what imposed order, law, justice, morality, and balance upon a chaotic, primordial chaos. Now, within her chamber, the hall of two truths, Ma'at weighed the heart of the dead person. It was the heart that was considered to be the actual person itself. And if it was light, like her feather, like truth, the heart, seat of the soul, would go on to live in eternity with Osiris. If it was heavy, it would be fed to the hungry monster, Amut, the devourer. And Amut is depicted as having the head of a crocodile, the body of a lion, and the haunches of a hippopotamus, all deadly creatures around the Nile in ancient Egypt. This is Saturn ruling Libra with... actually, it's not. I think that this is really more Venus ruling Libra and Saturn exalted. And because of this Libra aspect to it here, I think that this energy is all about balance and equilibrium with you. The card, I think, is also about self-control. Now, there will be bestowed upon you at this time, well, just as this title suggests, justice, but also balance, and you might be adjusting your course, where you're moving, in order to make sure you stay on your right path. I think that there is also the suspension of action, pending a decision. So you'll be standing back to objectively weigh facts and alternatives before coming to a decision on what can come about. I think finances coming into balance is important at this time of year for you. I do see contracts and lawsuits and marriages as well, but certainly also the balancing of opposites. This is a time when I think you will take stock of your life to see what is useful and what should be let go. Think clearly about life ahead and be aware that all actions karmically do have consequences, but I think you will be getting a clear vision on possibilities and choices ahead of you, and you will be applying your insights that you've obtained thus far in your life in order to make correct decisions and to stay true to yourself, following your true path and what gives your life the most meaning. Pay attention to what situations in your daily life tend to throw you off balance. Discover the conditions under which you find harmony again, and carry this quality with you more and more as you move through your daily activities. What helps you reach your center and stay there? And what helps you or happens when you lose your center? And what helps you to take your center? I would say this to myself if I were you at this time, and it is, I am balanced and centered. I honor my word. I value being truthful in difficult situations. The abundance and beauty of nature is a reflection of my own nature. I am at rest in my own center. Well, where shall we head next? Oh, well, we've already said where we're going, haven't we? We've said we're going to look at this card. This woman here, this woman of a certain age, looks to me like one of the fates of ancient mythology. Death card here. What would you die for? Now, the death card is, I suppose, the tarot's way of reminding you that you are mortal, to live a good life, and to live it to the fullest. Because I don't want to be the one to tell you this, but none of us are getting out of this alive. I think that this is Mortar the Crone. Now, when I said the fates, there were three fates, and the mythology has it that every person had a silken thread, just like this woman's hair here, that the fates would pull to bring them in one direction or another direction. Thus, they were said to be fated for a certain event to come about. And Mortar the Crone was the one who cut the thread. And when the thread was cut, then that was the thread of life that was being cut. And the soul was liberated. As I say, the threads of life are her radiating hair. Now, the flower is a traditional symbol of an artistic style known as memento mori through the period of the later Middle Ages up until about 1800. Memento mori meant remember you will die. Now, I think it was intended to frighten people, to make them go into church and to hand over money to churches. I prefer to say memento vivere, remember to live, is what I say. But going back to this memento mori art style, flowers were used there, as flowers only bloom for a short time before their petals fall back to the dirt. Now, what is the abyss, I suppose, but, well, I'm looking at number 13 here, and the 13th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is meme, and meme means water. And water is interesting in that it can have no end and no light. the further down you go. To go into death is to go into this dark place, metaphorically, be it in the water of oblivion or the water of your own subconscious. As you descend, you shed your sins, your guilt, your pieces of clothing that make up your life until you reach the bottom. Naked, you can see yourself for what you really are. You know, people are not the only things that go through cycles and end with death. There are situations, relationships, eras of your life. Even the seasons of the earth and stars and the great wheel of the year go through all the cycles of life and death. But I'm not afraid of death, because death is not the extinguishing of the light. It is putting out the lamp, because the dawn has come. Now, at some point, everything comes to an end, which is good. Life and death have the same maker, and they come from and through each other. Even though death ends a cycle, the circle continues on. And death isn't the last card in the tarot. It's only just past the middle of the major arcana. There is life after death, and life in death, and death in life. But when you face your own death, you really do. And if you knew when it was that you were going to die, every single moment would be filled, colourful, vibrant, and appreciated. Now, this is Mars ruling Scorpio, is what I see here. Yeah. Mars, the planet of fiery energy, here in its lowest form, which is necessary to provide the impulse to change. You know, Scorpio is an interesting sign. Scorpio, you'll be familiar with Scorpio as being the scorpion, but there's actually three aspects to Scorpion, the water sign of Scorpio. There is the scorpion with its hard shell, and that's like ice. Then there's the snake, which undulates, and that's like liquid water, isn't it? And in its exalted form, it is the eagle, which is like a gas which rises into the air. This card is the child of the great transformers, the lady of the gate of death. And I think what it's talking about here is becoming free of old ensnarements for you, letting go of emotional attachments. There is also, I think, something of the end of an era, a cycle, a transformation that's coming around. Old relationships are demanding to be disintegrated. Now, this process may be bound together with painful experiences. However, because you've drawn this card, it indicates that you are ready to face those experiences. Well, not even to face them, but to go through them, to know them, to become aware of them. Now, the act of letting go, difficult as it seems to be for some people, letting go will liberate you. Now, death shows two faces, one destroying and tearing down, but the other freeing you from old bonds which have become confining, preventing your life. Which of these aspects will predominate depends on your attitude. Certainly, any desire to hold on to or cling to old bonds will cause their death to appear that much more agonizing. As something in your life is dying, dissolving, or disintegrating, whether it be a structure you have created, a pattern, a habit, or a way of thinking about yourself or the world, it's necessary now for a new beginning and transformation in your life. This is a great transformation period for you, where you may even face your darkest fears, but remember, the darkest hour is just before the dawn. Now, in order to grow and abandon the old, death is your protection against stagnation. You are forced to leave behind now what you have outgrown. I think you are now ready to make the necessary changes in your life. Accept any pain that may come with the loss of the old. And to what outdated relationships are you still clinging? Say to yourself, I let go of people and situations with ease and dignity. Each ending heralds a new beginning. I now say yes to death and yes to myself. Now, if there is any concern that is lingering, I would just say this to you. The acceptance of our concerns is in reality the acceptance of our Creator's perfection. One of our biggest mistakes is to ignore what happens within us. There is no shame in letting your Creator know that you are falling and that you need Him to pick you up. The fall of the ego becomes the rise of the soul. Your soul wants to meet you. It wants to breathe. It wants to speak. It wants to see with the clarity of the eyes of your heart. These eyes of the heart are the eyes bestowed directly on you by your Creator to witness Him and His pleasure. The friends of the divine are not in search of their own eyes. They are in search of His eyes. Now, that gives us the opportunity to go up this column and look at this card here, the Two of Discs, or the Lord of Harmonious Change. Let me see if I can get it in closer for you. Now, one eye is the sun and looks out, and one eye is the moon and looks within. Now, between them is a veil of flesh separating the face of matter, the Shekinah, or the feminine aspect of God. Your body, everything's body. Now, the gold coin is, you may see it in here, the gold coin has got the owl of Athena, ancient and wise owl with the big eyes, who was the companion and soul of Athena. Well, this eye looks out into the world, the sun. Now, the silver coin has the faces, two faces, one at the front and one at the back, of the Roman god Janus, or Janus, the god of doorways and passages. Learn to speak the language, please, Nigel. Now, you may ask yourself, with a face looking forward and a face looking back, Janus, where did the name January for the month come from? It came from Janus, because there was one face looking forward to the year and another face looking backward in the year that had just passed. This is Jupiter ruling the first decan of Capricorn. Now, this is really good for you, because what we have here is, now that might be thought to be a problem, but it's because Jupiter's really expansive and often kind of out there, whereas Capricorns generally are, well, more sensibly inclined. This is talking about a lot of movement and flux in your life, having a few ups and downs, but growth through change. But we saw that with the Death card here. Multitasking. I think you're going to have a heavy workload and you'll be enjoying your work, which is a welcome change, isn't it? And you'll be moving into a different phase that's here. Do you know, change is always necessary when the old falls out of equilibrium, and we've seen that there. Change shakes you and wakes you up. But Jupiter in Capricorn, well, Jupiter, the planet symbolizing luck and expansion, indicates that the change is going to bring luck and enrich your life, and the new will bring more stability and security with it. So this is a time, I think, when you need to go with the flow in your life. Constant changes are going to be around. Look, your life is subject to constant change, and that allows you to grow, extending and expanding you, and ultimately enriching you. Give yourself up to the transformation with trust. And say this to yourself: I trust in the harmony of my life and in the flow of my life. This is a good energy here for management of your practical affairs, and particularly for your personal chores and bills. Might sound like a drag, but you know it needs to be done. But say this to yourself: every day, in every way, I am getting better and better. And then we come to probably one of the best energies that floats around, and it's the middle of your deck. It is the Lord of material happiness for you. Now, this baboon feature it's a form of Thoth, the ancient Egyptian god of wisdom and knowledge. And the black and white towers are seen everywhere in the tarot. They're about duality, male and female, yin and yang, sun and moon, up and down, macrocosm, microcosm. And there's a stairway leading up to a star. That can mean so many things. A stairway to heaven, Jacob's ladder, a road to eternity. It is the middle pillar, the central path of the mystic. It is the lightning bolt from God which connects heaven and earth, the place where you begin to exist. The star itself, the 9-pointed star, is made out of 3 triangles, 3 threes, fitting with the number of this card. Now, the astrology is particularly fortunate for you here. It's Jupiter ruling the 2nd decan of Pisces. Well, Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces in classical astrology. Some people would say it's the co-ruler with Neptune. I don't say that. I say Jupiter is the ruler of it. So that's very complementary energy. And Jupiter's philosophical approach aligns well with Pisces' spirituality. Jupiter also, as we saw before, brings great good luck and happiness to you. And Jupiter's softer concerns, such as compassion and care and the spiritual life, are beautifully expressed through sensitive Pisces. There's an enormous capacity to love. There's bliss here. Overflowing love, deep joy, blessings. You have the fulfillment of the goal of love. And this speaks of a bliss which derives its energy from the very deepest reaches of a soul at peace. This moment is filled with harmony and inner joy, so open yourself to it totally and don't miss out. Well, great job, you. A fascinating spread of cards. I'm sure you will agree with me. And what a great month it looks like it's going to be for you. Gee, I might come move into your place if that's okay, because it looks like everything is going to be happening for the good. Well, what we're going to do now, though, of course, is to let that sink in, and I'll see you again next month. But until then, remember one thing, and it is this, that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next month. Until then, it's bye for now.